Let me start this panel discussion from the question to you, Philip, as you are the only representative of the bank in that panel. So please share with us what is your experience in building SME ecosystems in Santander Bank Polska, because you are the bank who has really a lot of value-added services for SMEs. You cooperate with the partners for that as well. So tell us how you do it.
Yes, we do. I'm not sure how much time do we have, because I have like a lot of stories of failures that we have made building what we don't call it yet ecosystem for the SMEs, because it's very difficult. You know, if we talk about the experience we have, is like, of course, we know what our customer need. Yeah, we have researched them, surveyed them. They told us what their need. But the problem is that you also need to use them for a design of the solution. And that's not even halfway through, you know, because even if you use them to design, you need to actually practically know and understand when they need a particular service or product of your partner. And it is still not yet a finished project. Then, if you already have a couple of partners, you need to be very powerful of communicating to your customers that you have services that are not banking solutions. Because normally what the customer do, the banking customer do, is like they go into the website or internet banking or mobile banking, and they do transfers, they open deposits, they exchange FXs, they take loan, but they never do accounting. They never issue an invoice there. They don't think the bank is actually provider of such solutions. So if you have advisors, use them, because they actually can even triple the number of customers they will start to use the solution. So I believe there's no particular good example of a bank, even myself, the Santander, of a good, properly working ecosystem that giving profits to the bank. Okay, you profit with the NPS, that will help you with the acquisition, but there's no revenue out of that yet. So someone that will get it right would be like a Tesla of a banking, and will benefit very much of having such ecosystem. So I believe if you even have a number of customers that are already really well communicated, if you have like a perfectly designed process of getting this solution to the customer, you need to also have a fully powerful CRM that will actually provide the solution in the right time, in the right place, in your app or web. And then also you need to very much focus on the customer consent. Because if you don't have a consent, you cannot offer them anything. And that is actually the biggest challenge I think the banks have right now.
All right. Let's start the discussion just about how the ecosystems could look like for SMEs. I really fancy and like the idea that you much presented, and Katalin, you continue on the starting the ecosystem from the e-invoicing functionality. So maybe this is the answer. So the ecosystem should start from the business services, as you, Philip, said, that the customers do not expect them from the banks. But the customers, are logging into the online and mobile banking to do the transaction because banks them teach to do so. And if you really look, because we discussed during the networking yesterday here, if we think on where the need for the finance is happening, what is the event for the need, for example, for a factoring, is actually the issue, the invoice. So the process starts and the need arises when the invoice is issued, not step further. So the customer should think to which factor I should apply, and then and then it could be not you, and then this is gap between when I need this invoice, the event, the moment is when I issue it, and then the factor whom I choose to apply. Because I also mentioned that here in Poland we have 10 factors offering microfactoring fully online, plus 2 partial lines, so 12 providers, which I will not remember as an SME really by heart and will not check all 12 offers. So I will just remember 1, 2 maybe, and check the offers. And if the process starts not from invoicing and it is not embedded into my existing, ecosystem or invoicing platform, this is no way that another digital platform for anything, for any digital banking or non-banking services has a chance to be successful, because there's becoming too many of them, and SMEs don't have time to check all the offers on the market. So what actually all of you, banks and tech companies, should do to create these ecosystems, to think it from the side of an SME customer, and from your example, to start this ecosystem from the e-invoicing tool, which is becoming obligatory in the European Union countries anyway. So this is a must-have for business customers. What should be done? Yeah. What are the steps? From what to start?
I think it all starts with the user experience, because this is something that big tech companies have already mastered, companies like Facebook, companies like Google, and like Booking even, right? Mm-hmm. The user experience is something that actually drives the users to use the service, right? So like Philip said, if they don't know about the service, they will certainly not use it. So it's about providing information that such a capability is available at a time that is opportune for the client. So for example, if the client is maybe his finances are low, right? His liquidity is subpar, then the bank may say, okay, but here, you have registered several invoices with us. Maybe you would like to discount them to improve your liquidity, right? So it's about providing an experience that would be there for SME client, that instead of just showing, okay, this is the dashboard, these are the products, you can apply for them, there are dozens from which you can choose. Instead, it will be more like suggesting solutions. So a client, for example, the system could detect that a counterparty, right, has been paying late for the last 3 months. And based on this, the system could suggest, okay, maybe you should use the invoice discounting to improve your liquidity. Maybe you should do something about the counterparty. Maybe you should remind him about the debts that he has, right? Or maybe you should use a debt collection agency in order to get at least some of the money back, right? It's about providing this kind of experience that will actually allow the users to access the services so that they will gravitate towards those, right? It's not about offering a solution, okay, for this, we are offering you this, you have to pay that much and go away. It's rather, okay, there's a problem that we can solve, right? And for that, you actually need an institution of trust. And I think banks are naturally such institutions, right? Because they have been so for centuries. And if a bank, for example, were to suggest a solution to a company, the company would be much more likely to accept it, instead of, for example, having to do like all of the research by themselves, right? Yeah, like you said, right? Dozen companies, how to compare them, right? This is too much complexity. An SME business owner doesn't have time for that, right? So it's about simplicity and user experience, in my view.
Yeah, from my side, I agree with the user experience. I would add the word seamless. So, definitely the seamless and the accessibility of the product. So for SMEs, I think not the pricing is important, but, the opportunity is there. So, yeah, I am issuing the invoice. I want to finance it right now. I don't care about really the price. I just want to get the money first. At least I think a lot of SMEs are not price sensitive, but if they have the product, they they will use it and they can use it. So yeah, product should be there in the ecosystem, and the integrations are important, because if you have to log into 2 separate platforms, then it's over. Then you won't necessarily do it in that ecosystem. So I think this is important. And from the bank's side, the orchestration part. So yeah, how you choose your partners, how you can cooperate with those partners, and what will be the rules for playing together, so that everyone is happy in the end.
Some things I'd add to that. Ecosystem inherently means one party doesn't want to do everything, right? That, you know, that's the basic point of this, right? I want to do one bit and you want to do another bit and they want to do another bit. For that to operate successfully, data standards, you know, we're still a long way off, but they're evolving and developing. And I think open banking and building on open banking as a data standard for sharing payment instructions, et cetera, could become a critical part of building these ecosystems. I'm loath to say that I think the banks need to take responsibility for this, okay? I don't think the banks need to take responsibility for this, but they do need to be able to expose and make data open so that when there's a customer need, it is simple to fulfill, and it isn't necessarily the bank's obligation to fulfill it. So an invoice or invoice discounting is a reasonable example of this. I'm going to speak from a UK perspective, that's or Western Europe, that's prevalently where we operate currently. We all use accounting systems, okay, for our invoicing. It'd be amazing if the accounting system and my banking system were better integrated. But if I wanted to do invoice discounting, I'd really want my accounting system to say, hey, there's an opportunity here for you to borrow some money against this invoice that you've just raised. And it might be the bank that I bank with that's prepared to do that, but it might well be a very, very specialist lender who deeply understands my business, the kind of clients that I operate with, and the risk profile that doing some sort of lending against that criteria is. So for me, I think what we shouldn't do is push it on any one party to build the ecosystem. What we should try to do is work together to build open data standards so that inherently those that want to play and fill little gaps in a supply chain finance or any other aspect of running a business can step in, and the data is available in a secure way, in a controlled way, to allow these ecosystem plays to actually exist.
Not much to add, actually. I would agree with everything you said here. I would add maybe two things. The first will be the real partnership in between the banks and the partners, the fintechs, the startups. And I mean, often banks actually try to integrate and forget. That will be the regular strategy. So, and they think they will gain some revenues out of that. So actually, we would need focus more on helping fintechs and startups to understand how complex banking business is and how to fit in with the service or solution they have for the customers. That would be the first thing. And the second thing, there will be, if someone will ask me how the mobile banking should look like, I would say I would revert it. I would say the banking is a commodity. So we are like a, I don't know, an energy in a socket. Yeah? I would say the first and the most important thing on the mobile banking app should be button, issue an invoice. That's the start for the banks, and no one has it on the market. At least I don't know anyone of having it.
Yes. So business services and then the banking services are underneath.
Interestingly, we're seeing a trend developing in the UK that as data is being shared, there are banks that their aspiration now is that you don't need to use their interface, because your accounting system and your HR system and your payroll system will drive the payments that run your business. And actually, online banking is there for you to check stuff, and it might be there to authorize stuff, but all of those transactions are being originated from external systems. And the bank's role is smaller, not greater.
But I think, right, this is the proliferation again of embedded finance, right? Yeah. Banks are providing the services. The clients don't know the brand of the bank that is providing those services, but the service is there and the revenue is there. I think this is the important part, right?
Yeah, I think fundamentally a bank is a regulated entity with the authorization and rights to do certain types of transactions. This is what they should double down on, and making those transactions available to as wide an audience as possible is how you grow that. Trying to be an accounting system or an HR system or a payroll system is a different type of business, right? You know, concentrate, do the things you do
model.
really well, and you are uniquely positioned to do.
Yeah. It's like turning the lemons of PSD2 into lemonade, right?
Yeah, but I think there can be different strategies around it because, a bank does not want to be necessarily unseen. It still wants to keep the customer contact and wants to own the customer. So some banks, will have a strategy to provide only embedded services, but some banks want to go out and build an ecosystem. So, and there is no good answer, and there is no good answer, for even within the bank for specific segments or specific services. So in that respect, I think the world, fortunately or unfortunately, will be a little bit more difficult because you will have more choices and you need to think about what you will choose.
I think that's really true. I think it's a market by market play. So like all markets, you've got to understand what the customer need is, and it isn't the same everywhere. You can hop across a border and see a very different customer need, and you've got to make a decision as to whether you are the right organization to fulfill that need, or you need to work with partners to fulfill that need. There definitely isn't a one-size-fits-all. As we see data interconnectivity maturing, particularly in Western Europe, we're seeing the banks' roles shrink and concentrate on the bit they do, and third parties are coming in and building around the ecosystems. But that doesn't mean that's the right play here. If that maturity isn't here, then the banks need to step in order to provide the interconnectivity and ecosystem infrastructure.
I think the partnerships are a necessity now. So there is no way you can fulfill the customer needs without, not partnering and not cooperating. This is not a situation anymore. And your examples actually were that when the banks are the orchestrators of the ecosystems, what do you consider is the best strategy, or maybe what are the pros and cons for being an operator, or orchestrator, or builder of the ecosystem and the main player on that, or maybe participation in other ecosystems, or maybe doing nothing at the moment and wait actually to the open data and this open interoperable ecosystems happen, which will be another story and another business model, right?
Yeah, so in our example, or what we actually did 2 such projects in Hungary that you are missing with OTP Bank and the Hungarian bank holding, and we exactly provide this opportunity for everyone all over the world to set up your own invoicing service. In this respect, the bank is developing a product for themselves, so it's not a classical, I would say, ecosystem play, because they are doing it, under their own brand. They don't partner with us as like a third-party provider, but they're doing themselves in-house. But both the banks and that we have seen had the vision to create an ecosystem, starting with these, packaging together financial administration services, but they also were thinking about ERP connections, like choosing an accountant, I don't know, when you are starting your enterprise, what are the services that you need. So with one of our banking customers, we see this, that, they already built the invoicing bit, and they are starting to tap into other services. So, so this is what we have seen, and this is also, it's like more of a little baby, but it's coming, and the banks start realizing that they need to do something if they want to keep their customers.
Yes. Because this is becoming the differentiator actually on the market, yes, because when we have in the region 80% of the banks digitalized, or the traditional banking services are available in all online banking applications, at least in mobile banking less, but in all online banking, yes. So how the customer should choose the bank, how to choose if all the traditional banking functionality is available already in the online banking. So, and these value-added services and partner services, when the SMEs especially do not actually need to search for another provider of this and this and that, this is what they appreciate, and this is becoming what differentiates bank at the moment. And this is a case, I can prove it by myself, being an SME, yes. did choose a bank because they provided invoicing and online accounting, except banking services.
Yeah, well, and this is what I said at the very beginning, yes? We have these value-added services, and they are helping us with the acquisition of the customer. The solutions itself, they are not heavily used by the customers, but they at least help us to acquire customers. So we have done some service analysis, and we know that, and also increases the NPS. But I'm still not sure if the bank should be the orchestrator of the ecosystem. I'm not sure. If someone does it right, as I said, Tesla, Bank Tesla, but I think more and more think about a bank being a part of the ecosystem, not maybe an orchestrator.
Yeah, because being an orchestrator essentially is very difficult, right? You have a lot of risks related to integration with different partners, but at the same time, the control over those partners, right? It's not that great, right? They are still like separate entities. They may go their own ways at some point. So, yeah, this is definitely a risky part. But like you said, right, this being kind of a halo service that will attract the clients your way.
Yeah, I was thinking about being orchestrator like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, because, you know, banks are trusted entities. So people trust banks. So I thought, okay, customer trust us, so let's try to build an ecosystem. But it tends that after 10 years of trying to do it, we're still making failures and errors and trying once again, but maybe it's not the way to do it.
And I think that, thinking about what you are saying is that, the opening up of the data and standardizing the data will help in this, because in this respect, the bank will not be solely responsible for building a good ecosystem. It can participate or equally participate the ecosystem, because like this orchestrator and participant is more true like for the closed ecosystems. If you open up the ecosystems, the role will definitely change, because I can choose whatever accounting service provider, whatever invoicing service provider, whatever bank, whatever payroll solution, whatever e-commerce solution. So yeah, it will be a different landscape. Yeah, but this is the good news. The bad news that it will still take time, because those data standards are not there yet.
Yeah, I think we've got some of them. So open banking is definitely a push in the right direction, but it's quite limited in its scope at this moment. For the sort of stuff we're talking about here, you'd want to see an awful lot more data added to that. But, to go to a bank, the regulator is mandating across Europe that open banking needs to be implemented. And if we broaden the scope of some of those actions and force those to be implemented as well, I think you'll find the ecosystem will do it itself, right? Accounting systems and HR systems will go, well, we're going to link into the bank now. And that's better for the bank, right? I'm talking to bankers here, and they'll all roll their eyes going, listen, it's hard enough banking SMEs, right? This isn't the super most profitable part of my business, and putting more pressure on them to do more things for those organizations, you're going to be a lot of resistance. But providing ways of sharing data and allowing that ecosystem to be created around them. They're still, they're the licensed entity that holds the money. Don't be scared about an ecosystem. They're not coming to take that stuff away from you. You, as a bank, play a critical role in the financial system, transaction monitoring, movement of money, regulated entity, super, super important. But there's a whole load of other things that SMEs need, and being open and allowing them to access that data in simple formats, in a simple, secure way, will allow ecosystems to really thrive.
Yeah, I think there is one thing that Katalin mentioned in her presentations about BBVA, being the ban with like this very good catalog of APIs, right? This is something that will actually allow the banks to become the go-to bank for integration, right? This is developer experience, because even if you're exposing an API, if the regulator asks you politely to expose the API, the developers still may not know how to consume it, right? How to connect to your bank. And developer experience, like providing those resources, those examples on how to connect, how to use this API, this is something that can really turn the needle in your favor, right? So that this will be actually the bank that is most integrated with, thanks, for example, to those great resources that it offers to outside developers, so that they connect it, they can build ecosystems around it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. But this is again a capability that is a non-core banking capability. So there will be a lot of effort that needs to be put into it, so that banks can differentiate themselves from each other in this respect. Yeah.
Sure.
But do you think that these open ecosystems in the future, I don't know whether there is a nearest future or it will take, 5-10 years to come to that. But if we think on these examples of the closed ecosystems, as you, Katalin, brought in your presentation, and then versus the one from India with the open ecosystems and the one that we expect to have as well, if we think on that, then we should say that now this is a good moment for the banks to create closed ecosystems, because this is data, which is everything about customers. If you think about that, if a bank as a group has banking, transactional banking, of course, has e-invoicing, has accounting in the ecosystem, maybe have some e-shops, etc. So it means that actually the bank, within all the services it provides, it has on the customer like the full data. The full data, what you can have for a business customers, you have it. And now the questions are, do you use it in a proper way to do a really personalized offer? And the answer today for the region is no. Is no, because even having all this data gathered, which is an incredible, nobody on the market has it, nobody, any other fintech will never have it. The power of the banks is that they have customers and they have this customer data, and which they kind of should use it, but they don't. And given an example like having, as I mentioned, all the data about SMEs, then you can really target with the offer. You should know and predict what is the real needs. And this is about data. Not even NRM is capable physically to do it, but the data. Why it's not happening? Because it should be a really gold for the banks right now.
It's actually funny because you have companies that are using data very effectively for marketing, like TikTok, like Instagram, right? They are suggesting you videos, you are spending hours like watching cats, etc., right? And this happens because those are really unregulated monopolies, right? They have access to all of the data. The users are signing like a consent to all of the terms and conditions because they want to access the feature, right? And they are not even reading those. And with banks, it's difficult, right? Because of the regulations, the data privacy, etc., it's not that easy to use the data without users' consent. I think this is my view on that, right?
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah, but for example, I'm not asked even from the bank side for any consent recently. I mean, like, really, why?
Yeah, but even
I'm ready to give a consent.
Yeah, but even if so, let's assume that you have the consent, right? Then the situation is that within the bank, the data are sitting in different systems. So first they need to be, put together, consolidated and standardized, and then you can, start analyzing it. And besides the consent part, I see this is a, big problem. This will be, eased out by system providers such as SCADA. So yeah, so we are going that way, but those projects require, a lot of resources.
Okay.
It is happening.
It is happening.
Not much, but it is happening. I think Catalina's point is absolutely right. Most banks probably in this room have very fractured data sets that are time consuming and expensive enough just to do their reporting on, let alone try to find opportunities to make more money with those data sets. It takes a completely different mindset and way of thinking in order to really leverage data in that way. And we have a UK client, a UK business, in fact, the UK's fastest growing business, who happens to be a bank. that does SME banking, which is a pretty cool thing to say at a conference like this. So it is absolutely possible, and I'll quickly run you through a very, very short use case. They came to us wanting to build a current account for SMEs. They see a big challenge in the UK. It might be one that's reflected here. If you're a very, very small business, you're well served by the banking system because it's essentially a personal account with a business name at the top, right? And if you're a very big corporation with 400 or 500 people, you're fairly well served. There's big corporate banking platforms. But anyone in between is very, very poorly served. If you've got a finance team of 4 or 5 people, actually trying to get a banking system that isn't a giant corporate one so that somebody in accounts can set up payments and somebody else can authorize them is really, really difficult. And it was the first challenge they set out to do. As part of that, they recognize that SMEs often have good liquidity, not loads, but they have good liquidity. So they provide a little savings wallet inside this account that earn interest. So we've got a current account here, it's got an overdraft on it, and it's got a savings wallet inside it. And their take-up on this product was incredibly good, and they could see people opening these accounts, and it feels really great, but they're not using the accounts for transactions. And when they spotted this, they saw that the piece that the SMEs wanted in this case was the savings wallet. They wanted somewhere, a bank, to keep their cash and earn interest, but still have the ability to quickly draw on that liquidity if they needed it. And as soon as they did that, spotted that, they pivoted into launching a deposit account for those customers and absolutely exploded. Absolutely exploded. And now what they're doing is working on launching 3, 6, and 9-month bonds for these customers so that they can lock and lend those funds out to the other side of their balance sheet, but offer those customers better returns. So it is possible, it can be done, but it requires a very different way of thinking from perhaps traditional banking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
It sounds like a new bank from Brazil. Same case, yeah? Similar, yeah. You've asked about those, the vast majority of data that we use and to provide different offers to the customers, but you need to remember that the banking is a simple business. Like, we do deposits and loans and some transactions, and we make money out of it. So what we do, we actually analyze loads of data just to offer a loan. Yes. That's our main purpose.
Yes.
That is why we are not yet really deeply interested in getting into the data that will allow us to help customers with their daily business, like accounting or
but
whatever.
I think offering a loan in the very right moment, the customer can need it, or offering a factoring at the very right moment. I mean, not calling 9 in the morning and asking, do you need a loan or factoring to SME customer? This doesn't work. But when you offer it in the very right moment, this works, and this is all about data.
So this is context and
the
right time and place to do it. And this is very actually difficult to do it because we have run several analysis and models just to build this propensity model for e-accounting or e-invoicing.
Yeah,
it's not easy. It's like the conversion rate is really small yet.
Yeah, but I think this is where these other services could provide a trigger for the right moment.
They should.
Right?
They should.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the idea of the ecosystem, right? So being able to share that data allows other organizations to leverage that and create opportunities and spot those things that banks might not. I think the phrase that we've always used is that banks are incredibly data rich, but they are very information poor.
Yep. All right. Do we have some questions in the room? Nobody, really? All right.
Seems like we have covered everything.
Yes. When is the dinner, right?
The final question for the panel will be as the following. I guess this is all about partnerships, right? So the ecosystems and delivering any services. Right now, it's all about partnership. What is, in your opinion, the tips or what banks and partners should do to make this partnership successful? Because I do hear some, voices that after the implementations and all the effort done, the partnerships are not so successful as each of the parties wanted that to be. So what are your recommendations? How the such partnerships in the area of SME banking could be more successful?
I touched that at the very beginning, and I think it's about the partnership is about the relationship. So you cannot, develop, implement, and forget. You need to cooperate. And out of many different solutions that we have provided, I think that one is a good example of a good cooperation. It's like the e-accounting solution that we have for our customers. It's like 10% of our database actually have integrated the accounting of, in fact, actually the company that is coming from Kraków.
Yeah.
So hello, in fact, and you need to communicate on a, I don't know, maybe not the daily basis, but you need to work on the solutions, improve the way the customer logs into the solution, improve the quality of the solution itself, then also use the partner for example, education of the customers, because in Poland, taxation is like a madness. No one knows how to do it. So in fact, it's actually a provider of a educational webinars or content that we provide to the customers, and they also actually assist our customers during the opening a company. So they are actually they are there to help customers to open their first company, and I believe that kind of a cooperation is a real partnership. Yeah. On the other hand, I have a solution which is called e-health. Okay, we have done some integration. We provided this, let's say, e-health solution to the customers, but no one cares. Yeah? Both sides. Yeah. So, and there is no conversion because the communication is poor. The solution is not, developed, is not changed. The customer are actually not asked about the way they understand the product and if they like it or not. So the partnership is about the relationship and communication and constant improvement.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think, like all relationships, it's openness, it's trust and transparency, and both sides of the table should be able to express clearly what they want to get out of it. Okay? We're both going to invest in this. My hope is I'm going to get this. What are your hopes that you're going to get out of that? How are we going to get back around this table and revisit that if either one of us isn't getting what we want out of this? And how do we work together to make sure that mutually we're both benefiting? All relationships work like that. All partnerships. I don't think banking has anything special or magical about it than any other business in that capacity. The greatest partners that we work with, it's an incredibly clear, transparent relationship where we're very clear about what we expect to do and get from this. They're very clear about what they expect to do and get from it as well. And we try to make sure they achieve their goals and they try to make sure we achieve ours. I think all partnerships built on that will be successful.
Yeah, I think not relying on single partnerships in one area would also be a success factor, because if I can only use this solution or that solution, I won't necessarily use that. But if the ecosystem can cover 50-60% market share on a single use case, then it would definitely have the probability of using one of the services. So I think not relying on a single partner. That would be a important thing.
I think this all comes down to having a common business case, right? If you want to partner up, both of you should invest into the relationship basing on numbers, right? So for example, let's say we will cover this much of the market, out of this we'll have this much profit, and this is what will bring the cooperation together, right? This is what will allow the cooperation to be successful, so that everybody knows what they are getting out of it.
Exactly, because you don't do the partnership for the other's sake, but for your own, interest.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the panel, Filip, Nelson, Katalin, and Maciej. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.